Good afternoon, viewers. How are you today? If you're doing fantastic, leave me a thumbs up and mention it in the comments. Say, hey, I'm doing great today. Thank you for asking. How are you? And yeah, let's enjoy this video. So welcome to a Guy and His Projects video. Today we are working on the brown WJ. This is the 2004. Train of thought just disappeared. 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee WJ with the V8 4.7 liter quadra drive axles, all that good stuff. Today we are replacing the front diff fluid, the rear diff fluid, and the transfer case fluid. That's today's video. If you've never replaced those, they're not something that needs to be done every day, obviously. I don't even know what the manufacturer recommendation is for replacement time. I typically try to do all of my vehicles once a year on the rear diffs. Now that we live in South Dakota and we utilize the transfer case and the front diff way more often, we'll probably try to do this on an annual basis on all my vehicles. That is probably way overkill, but that's the way I roll. I like to overkill everything because I like to know that I know I'm good to go. So this is probably going to end up being a voiceover. I'm probably going to just set you guys up and turn my music on and enjoy the day while I rip through all these fluids. All right, don't mind the mess over here. We got things going on. So for the transfer case, we're using this mobile Devlac. This is what I'm putting in the Jeep transfer cases. All of the WJs, that's what gets it. It's Mobile calls it a tractor hydraulic fluid. It used to be called something else, which is mentioned in your owner's manual. I don't remember what it's called right now, but that's what we're using for our transfer cases. I am not using ATF because it's not what ATF is for. ATF is not strong enough for these transfer cases. In addition to that, I have some GL5 85W140. I think that's what I'm using in the diff. I gotta look it up again. I've got a few different options. 80W90, 7590, and 75140 over there. So I got a few options. I'm not sure what we're using. When I get there, I'll let you know though, because I gotta figure it out first. We have our gasket maker. This is the other thing I like to use. This is just a scraper. This will help get rid of some fluid or some of the old gasket. You're gonna want some brake clean to clean things up, and a bunch of paper towels, and that's about it. And yes, I am aware that my mic sucks. This is the fourth mic I have tried since starting YouTube, and I have yet to be happy with any of them. I have to use a lapel mic because I live right next to the freeway, and yeah, there's too much noise for the boom mics. I'm just getting in here. We're going to pull off all the rear diff bolts except the very top one. I'm going to use a screwdriver and a hammer, and I'm just going to pop that cover off just like that and let it drain. You can use a ratchet, or you can use your electric ratchet like I am right here. Once you get that top bolt off and most of the fluids out, you can go ahead and remove your cover. I'm just taking a peek in here real quick, just looking for any metal flakes before I disturb it or anything of concern. This actually looks really good. There's 180,000 miles on this Jeep, and this fluid looks pretty new. Looks like there might be just a little bit of moisture in there. But it definitely looks like somebody has changed this semi-recently, which is fantastic. Hopefully it was preventative and not, something broke. I'm just taking this little Titan scraper and scraping off the gasket. I will link something like it below through Amazon. I do get a little kickback for anything you order after clicking on the link, so order big, guys. No, so we're just going to clean it. This is the most arduous and annoying part of the whole process when you're changing your final drive fluids, differential fluids. I had some nicks and cuts on the bottom of this diff where it scraped some rocks. That was just me with a hammer trying to knock those out of the way so the cover sits flat. I like to take a little pick here and pull all the gasket maker from the previous guy out of the bolt holes. The problem is people put it on super heavy, stick their bolt in there, and then the gasket maker sets up in the holes. And now if we go back to tighten up your diff cover, it's going to be hard to get the right torque spec, and yeah, it's just nasty. So I get in there with some, I guess you could call these dental picks, whatever, and I just clean these holes out. It just makes for a better time all the time, really. You can kind of see there, I know we're fast forwarding here, but I pulled out some pretty big gunk. Alright, now I'm just going to grab some brake clean. I do not endorse this. I'm pretty sure it's not how you're supposed to use brake clean, but I'm going to brake clean the heck out of this differential carrier. I'm going to spin it over and around so I can get all, well, I was going to say 4 sides, but all areas of the differential. I'm just getting all metal, like, so everything's going to drain with the fluid except the stuff that's stuck where it sits. So I don't know, I just use brake clean, shine it all up. Here's your cover. If you're reusing your old cover, you got to clean this too. Everything's got to be nice and pretty clean. Get all of the metal shavings or anything else, oil residue, out of that cover, and you want that nice and shiny clean as well. You want to start fresh. And again, with the brake clean, man, I love this stuff. It smells so good. Just kidding, don't breathe it. It's not the best to breathe, but it does work really, really well. I don't know about you guys, but I buy cans from various places, and it seems like a 16-ounce can is 12 ounces from some stores, and it's 20 ounces from other stores. I don't understand what that's about, but this is my Permatex gasket maker. I'm not affiliated, but I love this stuff. Just put a nice little 1/4-inch bead, go in, get everything somewhat tight. You're going to see me use the electric ratchet here in a minute. I'm just snugging it up. I'm not torquing it. We'll torque them later after it sits for an hour or so. This stuff, you're not supposed to fill the fluid immediately after. You're supposed to wait a good 24 hours before you fill the fluid. You can get some Right Stuff gasket maker 1-minute gasket and fill it immediately. I've always used this gray Permatex. It's designed specifically for the diff oils, the final drive oils. I've never had one leak, but I've always done it properly as well. Waited the 24 hours. Now we're going to go ahead and move to the front diff. Same exact process. You're just going to pull that cover off, leave one bolt in the top somewhere, grab a little screwdriver and a hammer to open it up. This diff definitely doesn't look like it's been touched in a while, which makes me think somebody opened the rear diff for a failure of some kind, because this has been sitting here for a very long time. It's pretty gross fluid. This has, however, been opened before, because this is not the factory gasket either. There's 2 different colored gaskets on here, and I'm going to scrape them all off. But pretty much the same thing. Nothing special. Just take your time. You want very flat surfaces, very smooth surfaces, so that when you go back together, it all, doesn't leak. Yeah, the front diff was pretty yucky actually. It wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't the worst. I've seen much worse, but it's definitely been rolling for a large portion of the 180,000 miles on this Jeep. So as you can see, I've got the surface all cleaned up. Now I'm going through with my pick. I picked all the gasket out of the bolt holes, and same as the rear, we are now going to do the front cover. I'm going to pull my drain plug, or my fill plug out. You may have noticed on the rear, when I put it back together, I left the fill plug off. I don't think that's necessary, it's just something I do. I will then put those fill plugs on the driver's seat so that I, don't forget to fill up the diffs before I go on a road trip, because that wouldn't be great. So this gasket was on here good. It was on there real good. So I got a wire brush on my drill, and I just kind of ripped her apart. Just be careful to go lightly if you do that, so you don't mar the surface. And again, with the Permatex gasket maker, and like I said, this is specifically designed for gear oil to withstand all the additives in said gear oil. Just making sure I don't have no gaps filling in the light areas. This is more than I really need, but sometimes you get a little overzealous. And again, same thing as the rear. We're going to just snug these up. We are not going to torque them. We'll wait an hour or so. We'll go back and we will torque these, I believe, to 30 foot-pounds if I remember right. But we're just going to hit them all in a crisscross pattern. And there we go. Like I said, we're going to leave the fill plug on the driver's seat to remind me before we leave that I have not filled these yet. All right, moving on to the transfer. Oh, nope, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. I am torquing these to 30 foot-pounds. I don't know if that is the correct answer, correct torque, but that is the one I'm doing. Couldn't get my adapter up here behind the fuel tank, so I kind of just got the feel for what 30 foot-pounds was and went around with the hand ratchet. Now for the transfer case. This is the 247. We're just draining it into the same pan we've been draining it. Not sure what I was trying to say when I pointed that out. Here's your fill plug. People tell you to crack that loose before you drain it, just to make sure it does crack loose. And then your drain plug is right here. So in the spirit of doing what everybody else does, we will make sure we can break that top one loose as soon as I can find the correct size adapter here. There we go. Top one's loose. Now we can pull the bottom one. This does not hold much fluid. It doesn't take much time. I'm going to let it sit here passively draining until it's done draining completely because of the low amount of fluid that goes in there. Alright, so now we're going to put our drain plug back in. We're going to torque it down to, I don't know, let's just guess 30 foot-pounds as well. I'm using that Mobile DevLac tractor hydraulic fluid instead of ATF in my transfer case. Do as you wish, but it is a very clear fluid going in, and it's very heavy duty. So it was 34 degrees in the shop this morning when I did this, and this flowed pretty decent. The final drives were a little bit more difficult. Alright, so it is the next morning, and now we are doing the final drive fluids. I don't know what I'm saying here other than I don't have the right final drive weight. So I'm starting with this 85-140. I ended up having issues because it was 30-some degrees in the shop, and it was not flowing through the pump, and I switched to 85-90. So my diffs are going to be slightly underweight, if you will, because I couldn't pump the stupid crap. So that was a problem with me because, you know, it was cold. Once summer is fully on, which it kind of is now, this was about a month ago I filmed this. We might switch these out again, but I'm not too worried about it at this moment. You're just going to fill the fluid until she starts running out the fill hole. That was the same with the transfer case and the front diff. Just run them until they start flowing out the fill hole, and then you know you're good. Clean her up, and you're pretty much good to go. Guys, remember, subscribe, like, share, check out my other videos. Huge database of videos on my channel now, guys. Check them out. Stay tuned. Always more coming. Always more happening. Alright guys, that's all there is to changing your differential and transfer case fluids on your WJ. So pretty easy to do, guys. Time consuming a little bit, especially if you do the diffs. You got to take the cover off, clean them up, cleaning up the diff cover mating surfaces is the worst part. I don't really enjoy it. I'm not a cleaner. I don't like cleaning. And it's just not my cup of tea, but that's what we're doing, that's what we did, and we're good to go for a very long time now, so you know exactly where we stand on the differentials and the transfer case. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and come visit me again. Pretty much every Friday we got another video posting, got lots of projects, got tons of videos on the channel. I think we're over 200 videos on the channel now, well over 200 probably, and plenty more to come. So hit subscribe, get the notifications, leave a comment and a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.